chance to chat with you about my campaign for Congress, running in Texas 32. I'm running where I was born and raised. This is my home, and I'm running to make sure that who we are as a people is being represented in Washington, D.C., and that the American dream is still alive and well here, because I feel like I lived the American dream growing up here. I was raised here by a single mom who taught in Dallas Public Schools. I went to Dallas Public Schools myself, from pre-K through high school at Hillcrest High School, where I graduated. And growing up, we didn't have a lot of money or social status or anything like that, but we did have a lot of support. I had a lot of support from the people and the institutions available to me in this area, whether it was the public schools here, or whether it was Town North YMCA, where I spent so much of my childhood, or whether it was so many of the teachers and coaches and administrators and so many other folks out there, and you know who you are, who extended a helping hand to me and gave me the guidance that I needed and allowed me to get on the path that sent me to the NFL and to becoming a civil rights attorney, and then to working for the President of the United States, and now running for Congress. And I really believe that I'm here and I've done what I've done because of this area. And I want to make sure that future generations have access to those opportunities. And I'm concerned that that's not the case right now. And that stories like mine are becoming harder and not easier. And I don't think that Pete Sessions is doing enough. And I don't think that we are doing enough, and we have to do more to make sure that if you work hard and if you do the right things here in North Texas, that you can get ahead. Okay, so let's jump into the questions. The first one is on healthcare. It says, since in general the most cost-effective insurance is one that covers the most people and has the least overhead, would you support some form of Medicare / single-payer system for all? Well, I think it's a value statement. We have to say that we believe that healthcare is a human right and that every American should have access to quality, affordable healthcare. This is about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, in my opinion. And so I know that right now we've been fighting against Trump care, fighting to stop the Republicans from taking health care away from 10 or 20 or even 30 million people, depending on what version of the bill that we're talking about. And I think that in 2018, when we retake the House, we can start expanding coverage and trying to move towards our end goal. And so I think we should start off by introducing a public option, giving folks an affordable, quality option in the individual and employer market to get into that system and to see how a public option would work. I know that Bernie Sanders and others have endorsed this approach, and I think it's a great idea to start with a public option and to start increasing confidence in our ability to provide health care through the public option. I think we should also lower the Medicare age from 65 to 55 or even 50, giving folks who have retired a chance to get into the Medicare system, and taking some of the less healthy people out of the individual and employer markets and putting them into Medicare, but also putting healthier people into the Medicare market because they're younger and generally healthier. And so I think that's a great second step. And then whether we end up at Medicare for all or whether we end up with Medicare Part E, with the E standing for everyone, giving everyone a chance to purchase their way into the Medicare system, I think we have to make sure that we just get to universal coverage and that coverage is affordable. And that's the most important thing to me. And I promise you I will fight every day to make sure that you and your family have access to quality health care. And I will never, ever hide from you. I will never tell you don't know how to listen. I will come explain my votes to you. And I think that that's the basis of our democracy, and we have to get back to that. All right, so let's look at the second question. How do you feel about pathways to citizenship for immigrants and racial / religious discrimination? Well, I am a civil rights attorney. I've spent my legal career trying to fight to make sure that people are treated equally under the law, and I am extremely concerned not only by the policies of this administration and this Congress, but also by the rhetoric. And I think we have to stand up to both. Both the policies and the rhetoric have to be stopped. We need to have leaders who will stand up and say enough is enough. This is not who we are in America. We don't believe in banning entire religions. We don't believe in using ICE as a dragnet force to deport millions of people and tearing apart families. And we don't believe in pitting Americans against each other based on their race, their gender identity, who they love or who they pray to. And so I think we have to have a comprehensive immigration reform with a pathway to citizenship. That's an extremely important policy that we have to have. And I think that's something that I think can be done soon and should be done soon. But I also think that we have to stand up to that rhetoric and make sure that the world and the country knows that here in North Texas, that's not who we are. And so let's look at the third question. What are your views on raising the minimum wage above the poverty line for those who are working full-time? Well, I think this is pretty simple. If you work a full week's work here in America, you should be able to take care of your family. And so I support the fight to get to a $15 minimum wage. And I want to make sure that if you are working here and doing the right things, that you have an access to the ladders of opportunity to get into our middle class. And I think we can do more as well. I think we can make sure that women are paid the same for equal pay for equal work. I think we can introduce paid family leave to make sure that folks can take care of their families. And I think there are other steps that we can take. But the focus has to be on making sure that those ladders of opportunity, again, are there so that people have a chance to better themselves and to work hard and to get ahead. And right now, I don't think we're doing enough to do that. Next question. Do you perceive that Congress can do anything about partisan gerrymandering? And if so, what would you propose? Well, I'm a voting rights attorney. In July, I wrote an op-ed in the Dallas Morning News about gerrymandering and about the pernicious effects that I think it has on our democracy, and how I think we have to do everything we can to stop it, and I hope that the courts will stop it. I think here in Texas we need to have an independent, nonpartisan redistricting commission that will draw our lines based on communities and not based on politics or based on race or anything else. This is, to me, about communities having a chance to express themselves and make their voices heard. It's not even about politics in the end. And there's been, let's face it, there's been a lot of efforts to stop and to prevent people from voting, whether it's restrictions on voter registration, making it hard for people to get into the voting booth, or whether it's voter ID laws, making it hard once you get in to cast that ballot, or whether it's gerrymandering, diluting your vote after you've gone through all those other steps. And I have fought this on the ground here in Texas. I've been a voting rights attorney here. I fought to make sure that people could vote who this state was trying actively to stop from voting. And I promise you I will continue to do that as a member of Congress. I think we should introduce automatic voter registration as a first step. When I turned 18, the Selective Service found me and made sure that I was registered in case we had a draft. I think we should do the same thing for voter registration. All right, let's move on to the next question. What distinguishes you from other Democrats seeking the nomination, and why do you think you have a better chance of winning in the general election? Well, I think it's just fantastic that so many people have come out and are running in this race and are excited about this race and are supporting people in this race. I think that's great. It's good for us as Democrats. It's a great thing that we're doing that. As we all know, we didn't have anyone running against Pete Sessions in 2016, and that's a problem. And so I promise you I will be supporting whoever the Democratic nominee is, because this is my home, and the most important thing to me is that we have a change. And I think we have to have that change here in 2018. But I think what you have to decide as primary voters in this election is, who do you think has the best chance of expanding the electorate and diversifying the electorate to make sure that it looks like our community? Because that's the only way we're going to win this seat, is if we do that. If we register thousands of folks and get thousands of folks who didn't vote in our past elections out to vote in this election. So I think for you have to decide, who do you think can do that? And I promise you I'm going to spend my time in the field, knocking on doors, making sure that people know who I am, registering people, making sure they have a chance to vote, and doing everything I can to grow this pie. And I hope that that's enough to win this election. I hope it's enough to earn your support. And so I'm so happy I got a chance to answer all these questions. If I didn't answer your question, please come out to a coffee with Colin and ask me some in person. I love hearing from you. I love knowing what's on your mind and hearing the way you think things should be done, because that's really how this democracy thing should work, right? All right, so thanks so much for your time, and I hope that we can run into each other soon. All right.